Good day, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion about the different techniques of teaching grammar. I am Zako Ubisi, and I will be your moderator for today. So, grammar is a very interesting topic when it comes to teaching a language. It has always brought about debate. Some people feel like it should be taught formally and systematically, while others argue that communication is the best way for learners to pick it up naturally. And I know that we are all opinionated and we have individual perspectives. But before I give you the platform to share your opinions on this, I would like for you guys to introduce yourself. Please share with us your name and your surname.
Good day, my name is Shaylee van Heerden.
Good day, everyone. My name is Ronnie Hoffman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zanele Mguni.
Good day, everyone. My name is Oscar Makobe.
Good day, everyone. My name is Itumiling Matakula.
Thank you,
Hi
guys.
everyone, my name is Luan Jordan.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Jordan, for interrupting you. So thank you guys for your introductions. I know that you have your own teaching experiences, and we have three topics in which, or let me just say three categories in which I asked that you support or you oppose. And the following topics or approaches that we have with regards to grammar lessons are form focused or focused on form, and then we have focused on meaning, and then lastly we have the balanced approach. So we are going to be starting with focus on meaning. I'm going to start with Ms. Shaylee. Can you please give us a small background on this approach, as well as why you think it is important when it comes to teaching grammar?
Okay, so this approach is an approach to language where the main goal is communication and understanding what language is being spoken. So I strongly believe that learners will gain the grammar skills best when they focus on meaning and communication. When taking Caution's hypothesis into consideration, it shows that learners will develop language skills and grammar skills naturally, and that grammar does not explicitly need to be taught in a lesson. It is important that learners express their thoughts and their opinions and their ideas through communication and to do it effectively as well, rather than to focus on perfecting the grammar rules. When learners communicate freely, it will allow the learners to develop fluency as well. When focusing on meaning, it will also allow the learners to experiment and use the language without any rules or anything restricting them in the classroom. Grammar instructions are not the main focus of each lesson. Focusing on meaning keeps learners more motivated because they will see immediate results in their communication. Caution's work also shows that by focusing on meaning, it will reduce learner anxiety and it will enhance learning in classrooms.
So many teachers believe that when we focus on meaning first, learners become very confident and fluent because they're not worried about making mistakes. Can you please share an example with us where focusing on meaning really helps learners open up and communicate really well?
Okay, so first of all, language is a very important tool when looking at communication. It is important for learners to view language as a way to communicate and to express themselves, rather than a set of rules for learners to follow. It is important that learners are exposed to opportunities to use language meaningfully in classroom. So it is important for the teacher to create moments and opportunities for learners to communicate in the classroom. This can be done by, for example, allowing the learners to talk in groups about a topic that they can relate to and some of their interests. And the teacher can teach the correct grammar in the context of the topic that is being discussed without interrupting the fluency and the flow of the communication. It is very important that the teacher motivates learners to communicate and to encourage communication in classrooms. The learners will then participate in conversations when the teacher motivates them, and this will help develop language and grammar skills as well.
Thank you so much. I'm going to move on to Ms. Zanele, who disagrees with you on your take. Ms. Zanele, could you please share the basis of your argument and explain why your opinion contrasts Ms. Shayla's on focus on meaning?
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think Ms. Van Heerden's take on grammar approach is very limiting to the average learner's academic progress. So she talks about communication a lot, which is also emphasized in the focus on meaning approach when it comes to grammar teaching. And so the issue with this for me is that a learner does not have a clear vision on what a structure or rules of a grammar should be like. And so this can confuse them and their progress to gain the necessary grammatical skills, or the grammatical skills that they need to learn may be either delayed or just hindered altogether.
Okay, so on the flip side, critics worry that learners might develop bad habits if grammar isn't addressed clearly or directly. Have you ever seen a situation where focusing only on meaning has led to accuracy problems?
Thank you again. So let's take for an example, like an exam setting. So our work in the education centers relies on the fact that we can take learners and progress them into the next grade. So the point of our job in the education center is so that they progress and they learn these skills. And so in order for them to be able to prove their competence in an exam, they should be able to learn the grammar rules and grammar structures. But unfortunately, focus on meaning focuses more on communication and meaning in context. So it does not emphasize rules and structure. And so unfortunately, this delays them. It delays their skills. It delays progress. And so unfortunately, I can't help but think that the education sector is not equipped to prepare these learners for life outside of school. And so when they enter settings like the professional setting, they may be incompetent even in that. And then it may beg the question that maybe the education sector is not as, I guess we can't, the general public cannot rely on us to help them to progress in life, I guess.
Thank you. That's a very interesting way of putting it. It really is eye-opening. That was very interesting. We're going to be moving to the second part of the approaches, which is focused on form. I will be moving on to Mr. Makobe. Mr. Makobe, could you please elaborate on the importance of teaching grammar based on this approach, which is focused on form? Mr. Makobe, please unmute yourself.
My apologies about that. Absolutely. Actually, thank you for having me, because in my professional opinion, I believe that the focus on form approach is more important because it creates or it brings balance in terms of the need for accurate language use with meaningful communication. Unlike any other traditional method that focus heavily on isolated grammar rules. So focus on form integrates or it brings together grammar instruction into communicative tasks and guiding learners to notice and correct their errors in grammar in each context. So this makes the learning process to be more relevant for learners and for them to be able to engage with the teaching and learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Makobe. How would you then say that your opinion contrasts the focus on forms?
This view or this approach is supported by different scholars who also put it like in practice, like Russian, who believe that principles and practice in second language acquisition, it is when we put more focus on meaning, focuses of communication and understanding without specifically addressing the grammar. So while focus on form highlights the importance of addressing grammatical precision, correctness since it's taught that learners will pick up grammatical structures while they have a meaningful conversation. According to the article written by Krashen in 1982 states that learners' greatest successful language development occurred when they put focus or concentrated on meaning and employed language in appropriate settings, indicating that the easiest way to learn grammar exponentially was through conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be moving to your opponent, Mr. Hoffman, who is against focus on form. Mr. Hoffman, critics often argue that focusing on too much on rules can discourage learners from speaking freely. Have you ever seen learners go quiet or lose confidence because of the form of a heavy lesson?
Well, yes, I have seen it happen before. So a few years ago, I taught a grade 10 class where we were working on past tense. I'll use an example. So I dedicated most of my lesson explaining the rule, showing timelines, and drilling sentences. So while some learners appreciated the structure, I noticed that others grew quiet and hesitant during the speaking activities. So instead of trying to use the tenses naturally, they seemed afraid of getting it wrong. So learners start to overthink instead of speaking freely. What helped was shifting the balance. So in my following lesson, I still reminded them of the rule, but I made sure to build in pair work storytelling activities where fluency was the main goal. And slowly I saw them regain their confidence and they start experimenting with the past perfect more naturally. So yes, I have seen how form heavy teaching can discourage learners. It's a reminder that while rules give learners security, they must be balanced with opportunities for meaningful, low pressure communication, so learners don't lose their voice essentially. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. So, in a multilingual classroom where learners may already struggle with language barriers, where learners may already struggle with language barriers, does focusing heavily on form risk overwhelming them instead of supporting them?
Oh, that's a very important point. So in a multilingual classroom, a heavy focus on form can sometimes overwhelm learners rather than support them. So many of these learners are already juggling multiple languages, home languages, the language of learning and teaching, which would be English, and sometimes an additional language subject. So if the lesson is dominated by abstract grammar rules, they may feel doubly burdened, first by trying to understand the content of the lesson, and second by having to decode meta language like past participle or a conditional clause.
Thank you so much. That was a very interesting take. Really interesting. Thank you. We are going to be moving on to the balanced approach. I'm going to be starting with Ms. Itumeleng, who is for the balanced approach. Ms. Itumeleng, many teachers see the balanced approach as the best of both worlds. Can you share a moment from your classroom where combining fluency practice with a focus on grammar forms, with a focus on grammar forms, really helped your learners?
Thank you. Combining fluency practice with a focus on grammar forms has really helped my learners in several ways, such as improved accuracy. Learners develop a better understanding grammar rules and structure. And then again, it has helped me as the learners are now able to enhance fluency as the learners now become more confident in and fluent in using language targeted. And then again, the third one will be on increased engagement. The learners now are able to engage and combine fluency practice and grammar focus. This keeps learners engaged with motivation. To conclude, I can say fluency practice with grammar forms learners benefit a more comprehensive and learning experience. Thank you.
So, Miss Itumeleng, sorry, do you think that this approach, the balanced approach, is flexible because it allows you as a teacher to respond to the learners need in that moment. For example, when you're able to pause and explain grammar when there is an error that affects the meaning.
Yes, ma'am, I truly agree because this approach enables us as teachers to adapt to learners' needs. Like we are now able to gather and grasp what learners need and attend to them. And when pausing to explain grammar and providing feedback when errors affect meaning, and also respond to context and take advantage of teaching. When you address specific grammar or vocabulary issues. And lastly, this encourage learners' engagement and participation. And in conclusion, the balanced approach allows teachers to be more flexible and responsively, ultimately leading to more effective and engaging language. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I'm going to be moving to our last member, Mr. Jordan, who is against the balanced approach. Mr. Jordan, do you think that the balanced approach risks becoming inconsistent if teachers don't have a clear strategy for when to focus on meaning and when to highlight form? Mr. Jordan?
Sorry, ma'am,
Oh, my.
your video cut a bit there. I didn't catch
I was asking,
all
since you
that.
are against the balanced approach, do you think that this approach risks becoming inconsistent if teachers don't have clear strategies of when to focus on meaning or when to highlight form?
Yes, absolutely. Both accuracy and fluency must be considered equal when teaching a language, but it can, however, lead to an overwhelming experience for the students. A balanced approach to teaching, while sensible, cannot effectively contribute to language learning, especially when the teacher is unprepared. More focus must be given to one over the other to avoid disjointed or ineffective learning. Krashen's theory of input hypothesis differentiates between language acquisition and language learning. According to this theory, explicit grammar instruction is largely ineffective for true fluent language acquisition. So, following from this, it then concludes that choosing to focus on one over the other is actually better suited to learn language learning than trying to balance them.
Okay, so in your opinion, does the balanced approach depend too much on the skill and the intuition of the teacher?
I believe it does. Oftentimes, you would come to learn about teachers who think that this approach is an easy solution to target all of the learner's needs. But in practice, some learners might find the lack of structure confusing and daunting. Having to constantly move from stimulating logical thoughts to prompting spontaneity can create disinterested learners who might actually be entirely unaware of what is expected of them. They could be unsure of whether to focus more on fluency or accuracy. Now, a balanced approach might also be very time consuming, taking away from important time that needs to be spent on other items in the curriculum. This can be a big shock to some teachers, especially when they use this approach for the first time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jordan. I must say that all your individual perspectives were very, very interesting, seeing how you all clearly explained your views on the three approaches.